Football then and now, a fun look at football nostalgia and the modern game intertwined. Join us. Well, this is episode number 10 of Football Then and Now, a nostalgic look at football with a twist of modern. And today, my guest is a huge Arsenal fan. It's Mr. Connor Franklin on Football Then and Now today. And we've got a lot to get through, haven't we, Connor?
Of course, Stu. We're always talking about football. We don't shut up normally.
I'm going to talk to you actually about, you've got City, obviously, on the weekend. Huge game for you guys, with the top three being as tight as it's ever been, I think, in a season. I can't remember it being so close for God knows how long. But how do you think you're going to fare against City on the weekend? How do you think that'll go?
No doubt, it's a tough game. Like no one's seeing us as. Honestly, Manchester City have an extreme squad of power. You look at, like, when they lose one player, they can just bring another one in, which the likes of Arsenal, for example, cannot do. For example, like last season, Saliba got injured. We brought Rob Holding in. It wasn't substantial enough, and that's due to, I would say, one of the reasons us losing the league last season. This weekend will be different. I think we're in such good form in 2024. We're going to take so much confidence from the fact that we're unbeaten. Porto game where we won on penalties. There's just such a good vibe around the club at the minute. But I also think that Manchester City are going to be strong. Realistically, we can't afford to lose the game. I think if we lose the game, realistically, the title's going to be out of reach. I think Liverpool and Manchester City are going to be too strong going forward for us. But if we were to get a point or a win there, it would be a massive boost for our season to, like, potentially go all the way for this title.
I think there's only two sides in that league that are able to go toe to toe with City, should I say? I got my words mixed up. There's only two teams in that league, yourselves and Liverpool, and hence why we're in the situation we're in now with a 3-horse race. Other teams get swarmed by him. They can't cope, Everton included. We sat back. At least with you guys, you've got the creativity, you've got goals, haven't you, where you can go toe to toe with City, no question.
I think Martin Odegaard's a massive piece of the puzzle on Sunday. If he turns up on Sunday and starts running the show, it just gives us a different dimension. As soon as he goes quiet, we seem to struggle getting forward. But like I think it's massively important, the duel between Declan Rice and Rodri, probably the two best midfielders in the league this season, quite easily, or in the world at this point. Like, I see Declan has come on leaps and bounds since coming to Arsenal, and he's become better and better than he was at West Ham. No disrespect to West Ham, but I feel he was carrying that team, but he's in a team now where he's the vocal point, and then he's got others around him that can also provide the quality, that it's not so much faced on him, but it's a huge battle between him and Rodri on Sunday. I think that's where the game will be won and lost, personally.
If I had to press you for a prediction...
Oh, Stu.
Let's get into the nitty-gritty now. We need a prediction out of you. Now, I bullsed up last night with Wales. You could have played for 3.5 hours and not scored last night. All over him. I went 2-1 and I cocked up. And Chris will tell you I'm shit at predictions. But you yourself, what if I had to press you for a scoreline?
Dream world, I would love to say 2-1 Arsenal, but I'm going to say 1-1. I think it'll be a tight game, and I don't think it's going to be the Manchester City Arsenal that we've seen in previous years where it's gone 5-6-0 and things like that. I think Arsenal will go toe to toe with Manchester City, but it's just whether we've got the quality to keep out the likes of the De Bruynes, the Haalands, the Bernardo Silvas, who just turn up every time we seem to play Arsenal.
Now, Kai Havertz has stepped up in the number 9 for you in more recent times. He's been very good. He's been getting the goals, hasn't he? He's in probably the best form he's had in the Premier League, hands down. You know, we saw bits fleetingly with him at Chelsea, you know, scoring the winner in the Champions League final, but we never saw it week in, week out, did we?
No.
When we've seen him for Leverkusen, I know Germany's a different kettle of fish, of course, but he's been fantastic. But what I want to ask off the back of this is a striker. Who would you like to see come in the summer? Who would be the one for you?
There's a list. There's a lot of names being ruled about. You've got your likes of Tony, your Gyökeres, your Ossimans. For me, I think you've got to bring in your proven Premier League, and I would say Ivan Toney fits our bill because watching him for England last night, for example, he holds the ball up so well. He brings players into the game, which you've got your likes of Martin Odegaard, you've got your likes of Martinelli and Saka who run off. And Ivan Toney is that player who will hold the ball up and get it forward into them areas, which is where we're so clinical. Like our wingers are so clinical at the minute. Even with Leandro Trossard, he's a different player. He's not the pace of Saka and Martinelli, but he brings such like thought and skill into his play that he doesn't need that pace. He can cut a ball, he can cut a pass quite easily. And I think Tony's like sort of not necessarily the missing piece because I think Gabriel Jesus is a great player. Don't get me wrong, but we just can't rely on him at the minute with his injuries, especially with that knee problem he's had consistently throughout the last year or so. I think I would definitely say Ivan Toney, but I've also had thoughts on Victor Gyökeres, who obviously he was scoring mountains of goals at Coventry last season, and then he's obviously gone on to Sporting Lisbon and done exactly the same. Yourselves were after him in the summer, and he's become a bit of a valuable asset for them. £100 million for him.
No, 100 million for him, Connor.
That's what they're talking about.
I'm not having that. No way.
I'm not either.
And if it's a toss-up between him and Tony, you're going to go for Tony because he's proven. Yeah. He's proven, and that's for Brentford. And just think how much service he's going to get at Arsenal. 100%. So I do think. Sorry, I've jumped in here, but
it's fun.
I think it would be the perfect piece of the puzzle for you guys. But to be fair, there's been a lot of goals again from midfield for you lot as well.
Yeah, that's the thing I love about the team is the fact that it's not solely one person. Like we look back at the days of Arsene Wenger and you look back and you go, oh, the Robin van Persie's of the day where he used to carry the team with 30 goals a season. With this team, it's different. You get Martin Odegaard, Leandro Trossard, Gabriel Martinelli, Bukayo Saka, Jesus, and they're all pitching in with like 10 goals a season. It makes a massive impact. Like even Rice coming from midfield, he's scoring goals, and that's what we need. We can't. As soon as the goals dry up for Arsenal, everyone gets frustrated. As you can see in the image here, when I was at the Liverpool game, we created so many chances, but at that point, we just couldn't put them in the back of the net. But since the new year, and obviously this Dubai trip that everyone seems to talk about, we've been putting them in the back of the net consistently. We're being the highest scorers and obviously having the best defence in the league. It's amazing to see how just little changes. Like I feel Kai Havertz has found a new spot, which I don't necessarily think he'll be he's not a number 9. I don't know what your opinion on it is, but I don't actually know what his full position is.
I think obviously I know Germany's a different kettle of fish. It's probably as close as you're going to get to the Premier League in terms of intensity and stuff like the way they play it. He was great as a number 10, floating. I've seen him in wide areas for Leverkusen as well over the years. But fair play to him because he's been putting the goals in. He really has. I've got to be fair to the guy. I did not expect him to score as many as he has for you recently.
I just think he's got that, like, he's not a dominating figure, but he's got that height to kind of go. Like, for example, he was perfect against Virgil van Dijk and Kanate in the Liverpool game. He held the ball up and let Saka and Martinelli get in behind against Joe Gomez and Trent Alexander-Arnold. It matched. But as soon as you put him in a game where a back 4 or a back 5 sit, he seems to struggle. He doesn't have that. For example, he's quite late into the box. He's not instinctive enough to be there before the ball gets there. For example, like he's not quick enough to. I don't think he's quite quick enough in the mindset to think get in that gap, because Saka and Martinelli can put a ball in at any point. But he's definitely turned up, and I think a lot of people at the start of the season were like, "No, we don't want him. I don't know why we're paying 65 million." For me, I was quite open about it, and I said, "Look, at the end of the day, you've got to give the player a chance. Yes, he's had a bit of a poor time in the Premier League, but Mikel Arteta has seemed to picked up players and changed them. Like you've got to just give him chances, and Havertz has really put his head down in the last 6-7 games, and he's producing the goals, and I can't complain."
That's it. That's it. No, it's been really good. And do you know what? I felt 2-3 months ago, maybe I thought, oh, Arsenal they're falling by the wayside, but they've managed to. They've surprised me. They've kicked on. I know you've had players come back as well. In regards to Saka, now he pulled out the England squad. Is he fit for the weekend? Is he going to be fit for you?
As far as I'm concerned, from what I've seen, looking at like journalists, they seem to have said yes, he's going to be fine. It's just a knock, and I think more than anything, I think Arsenal have sort of spoken to England and gone, it's a precautionary thing. We'd rather have him, which I think any manager would do. They want their best players fit for the biggest games. Like you look at that list we've got Manchester City away. That is the biggest game of the season, apart from Liverpool. And to be honest, like going forward, we've got such a tight schedule. Like we go midweek, we go from Manchester City to midweek to then Saturday. That's 3 games in a week, and the hardest games at the top. The energy's got to be there for the whole time. Like we cannot drop off.
The break that they've had, especially Everton. I don't want to make it about Everton because we're talking about Arsenal.
Yeah, of course.
We've had that many weeks off now, and then there's just a cluster. We've got to play 10 games. I know you guys have to balance Europe, which I will ask you. Ask you about buying in a bit. It's crazy. It's crazy that we've had another international break. It's just too many fixtures between now and May 19th, Connor.
If I'm not wrong, I think we've roughly had the same time off. I'm going to say. I think we had the Tuesday Porto game, and then we had nothing after that.
It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy the length of time they've had off, because we had that little winter break thing, didn't we? Where it was 1 week off for some clubs, then the following week for the other clubs. It doesn't make any sense, and I maintain this: when we haven't got a big tournament internationally in the summer, why can't they just play a load of these games during the summer and get
100% agreed?
Them done? I don't like that November one. I don't like the one in September.
It breaks it up too much.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Go into the games here now. Luton at home. You've got to be pretty confident about that.
Yeah.
Brighton away. It depends. It depends what Brighton turn up. It depends. You just do not know. They're a mixed bag under him. And the Villa game, that's going to be superb on paper.
Yeah, it brings. I do enjoy. Like I've got with the story in terms of Villa. I'd love to get revenge for obviously Villa Park with everything that happened in that game. Obviously, I think personally myself, we should have had a penalty that game. We should have been a draw from my perspective. And obviously, I think the goal that got ruled out was also controversial to say the least. But we've had a few this season. For example, Newcastle, the ball going out of play. And West Ham as well. Like, obviously, you can't defend the undefendable. Like, we should have cleared the ball. It shouldn't have been there in the first place. But sometimes you got to look at VAR and think, maybe they aren't looking at it quite right. But there's a lot of fans who like it and don't like it, and I'm a little bit in between. Like, admittedly,
if you look there as well, April 20th, you got Wolves away, Chelsea at home, Spurs away. Bournemouth at home, so there's some tasty ones away from home as well there, isn't there?
Yeah, we've got some tough games coming up, but I honestly believe, like, if we can go on and get a point at City, it's the toughest games we've got left is City away, probably Chelsea at home, because I think they've made a little bit of an upturn, and don't get me wrong, Cole Palmer and players like that seem to be turning up. Spurs away is always tough. Apart from last year, I couldn't remember the last time I won at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, or White Hart Lane as it used to be called. Yeah. And then obviously we've got the last game of the last away game of the season at Old Trafford. Now that I know plenty of United fans who have got different opinions, but if they're not playing for anything, and then if we were to lose, then City or Liverpool win the league, I think that would be really tough for them. But it's going to be it's tough for everyone. I think Liverpool and Manchester City haven't got easy run-ins, and I don't think we've got the easiest of run-ins, but you've got to beat what's in front of you if you're going to win this league, quite simply.
I've doubled up here on the image, so obviously we're coming into fixtures that we've already spoken about. So the last two there, United away, and then, well, it's a given the last game of the season because we never win at your place. We had a terrible record at Highbury. We do not like coming down to you guys. I'm telling you now. I think I can remember a couple of draws at the Emirates. I can remember Stephen Pienaar in one game where it was snowing. Historically, we do not pick points up at your place. We just don't.
No, it's one that I do enjoy quite a lot. I'm not going to lie. It's always been one that we seem to do quite well in. But then again, you always used to beat us at Goodison, but that changed this year. So that's it was a slight turn up for the Bucks. Am I mistaken? That was a game you went to, Stu?
I went to it, mate, and they were singing the Odegaard song, and they were very cocky and arrogant. But I suppose if I was in their shoes, I would be the same with Nice. So yeah, it was one of them. They were singing that song repeatedly. I knew it after two goes of them doing it. I knew the word as well to that song. But yeah, we weren't very good that day. We weren't very good that day. And can I be honest with you? Arsenal didn't really need to come out of first gear. You ran it in the middle. You absolutely swarmed us in the middle. So that was just one of them games. I could tell the way that was going to go 10 minutes in.
Mm.
You asserted yourselves from the get go, and we were not good enough.
I feel like a lot of this year, I think Arsenal have turned the tables again, because I don't think a lot of people, like, even though the investment we made in the summer, I don't think people expected us to be back in that race. I think a lot of people thought, oh, Manchester City and Liverpool will run away with it this year between them two. But I think we've actually been a bit of a surprise going forward, because we've really like come back from a really difficult spell in December, like obviously losing to West Ham at home, Fulham away, going on that spell where we just couldn't seem to score. But I think we're really pulling a surprise. Like, I quite like the fact that we're not leading this year. I feel like I'm quite happy being like we're not really being spoken about. I feel like Liverpool and Manchester City are being more spoken about because they're the experienced, and we're a little bit the underdog sort of style. And I'm quite happy being there at the minute. Like, if we can keep picking up points and scoring the way we are, there's no reason why we can't go and win this title. I think a lot will come down to the Manchester City game, the Tottenham game, and also the Man United. But there is also a case to be spoken to about Spurs, who have got to play with, I think, within 3 games of each other. They've got to play Man City at home, Liverpool away, and us at home. So they're going to have a massive say on this title race, which is a crazy thought.
See what Big Ange can come up with in them 3 games. Absolutely. So yeah, I've gone with Liverpool to win it. I said weeks ago. Then I got lambasted by an Arsenal fan. What about Arsenal? Well, we did actually big up Arsenal. Me and Chris, we did speak about you. I wasn't writing you off by any stretch, but I had Liverpool. He had City. Various people I know have gone for Arsenal. I know you're obviously going to go for Arsenal.
Yeah, cool.
It's the most exciting it's been in years. It's been absolutely brilliant for the neutral.
I can't remember a title race like this since the year that Steven Gerrard slipped. That was the last one I can really remember where it went right to the wire sort of thing, and it caught the eye. Like, you always knew in the last couple of seasons that City would go on a run and they'd run away with it, which this year it just feels a little bit different. I feel like I think all 3 teams are going to slip up at some point, but I just don't know where. I think there is going to be a slip up at some point, because I look at Liverpool's fixtures. Yes, they've probably got the better run out of the 3 of us, but they've got to go to like Fulham away, which that's not easy.
It's always a tricky one down.
And they've got to come to Goodison, which you're not going to make that easy for them.
Well, we're going to have to stick the ball in the back of the net, mate. That's been the problem. That's been our Achilles heel. And that's why we've been, Sean Dyche hasn't had a win in 11 now. It's crazy. It's crazy. But yeah, always a good game. But I think if Liverpool play to their potential, they'll wipe the floor with us. And that's not me being defeatist. That's just how it is. That's just how it is at the moment. But
being realistic about it all. It's it's going to be. I think it's going to be a tremendous end to the season. Like, I don't see anyone running away with it. I think it's going to be tight right to the end, and I think if you've just got to beat what's in front of you at the end of the day, and you've got to do that in every game. Like, it's the same for yourselves with getting out of that sticky spot of relegation and things like that. You've got to beat what's in front of you, and you can't do anything else. You can't worry about what other teams are doing. Like, at the end of the day, of course, I want to see Manchester City and Liverpool lose at some point, but I don't have control of that. All you have control over is what Arsenal do, and Arsenal have to think like
that. That is it. That is it. It's going to go right down to the wire. I can see it now, 100%. It's and 10 games is a lot of games. It's a lot of football between now and May 19th. So yeah, we look forward to the race. We're getting into that final quarter now. Moving on, you wanted to speak about Forest's point deduction. So I'll put it now. We'll segue into Forest. What were your thoughts and feelings? Obviously, we were penalised heavier to what they got. What did you think about Forest's deduction? What are your thoughts and feelings as a neutral? You know.
My thoughts on it is, why is it not the same? Because to me, they've done exactly the same as you, in particular, looking through it. They bought a lot of players in and not sold a lot. Like, you look at the spending, like, for example, Morgan Gibbs-White, you've got your Anthony Alangas, your Callum Hudson-Odois and things like that. And they're probably all on really decent wages. And Forest haven't. I've never been shy of spending since arriving in the Premier League, and obviously they've got the owner Marinakis, is it, who owns Olympiacos?
It is Marinakis, mate.
And he's never been afraid to spend money, but financially they've never been able really to make a big revenue on players. Like, I can see, I think it's really, really, really hard, because I think the Premier League are really tightened the screw this year, and obviously they made a prime example of you throughout this process. They've made a prime example of you, deducting you 6 points, and then obviously they've given you deducting you 10 points, which then they've given you some back, which it's tough, because I feel like Forest, if they've done the same thing, you've got to pay the crime sort of thing. And it doesn't really matter what position you're in. If you're breaking the rules, it should stick. It doesn't make sense to me, really.
Where's the transparency with it?
There isn't.
People financially and stuff like that understand it better than me. I've never pertained, but I know the nuts and bolts of why it's happened. At the end of the day, we financed the stadium, rightly or wrongly. A lot of people like, you spent this, that, and the other. We've been done mainly because of the stadium costs. That is. But there's no transparency. It's a big grey area. They need to be on 6 as well. I know they'd spent ridiculous money, especially last year. Why is it not 6 for them? Why is it not 6? You know, and now they've appealed, but I can't see them getting anything. I think it'll be 4. It'll be 4, surely. What do you think with the appeal? What's your thoughts and feelings?
My point is, if you've done the crime, you pay for it, and I don't think appealing it's going to do anything different. No. I've done some research into it, and they'll get the hearing back on the April the 12th. So where we sit on that? So Forest are going to are in the relegation zone as we speak. The hardest part for the clubs around them, like yourselves, like Luton, like Brentford, there's no clarity. Like, you guys could all go on a really good run and still end up in the relegation zone because Forest get these points back. There's a lack of transparency about it, and it's very frustrating. Like, I can't see them getting these points back. So they're going to play 3 games before they get the deadline they hear back. So they're going to play. Yeah, it doesn't give. There's a lack of communication in this. Well, it's like yourselves as well. You're under another investigation.
Oh yeah, the PSR, is it? It's the PSR one, isn't it? Which is crazy. They could have sorted all this out, and it doesn't help. It doesn't help teams like Luton, because they're in a rock and a hard place. I mean, they're just going to concentrate on what they're doing. Rob Edwards has said that, but it's like you say, they could have sorted all this out. It's so unorganized, and it's threatening so many clubs now. And what about Chelsea? What about Man City, Connor?
I'm still waiting.
When are they getting theirs?
Well, all my mates and then me. I want my Premier League trophy back if they're going to get 100 charges. Do you know what I mean? Like, you want your Carabao Cups and your things like that back, and it's very frustrating. City seem to get away with murder, quite literally, and with the charges and things like that. But it's all about this. The Premier League know how big Manchester City is as a brand to the Premier League. If they lose that, the Premier League doesn't lose everything if Manchester City disappear, but it loses a big chunk of it, because Manchester City have had title races that have gone to the wire and things like that. And I don't think the Premier League can necessarily afford to lose them, which is why I think they've been able to get away with it for so long, which is really frustrating because it makes the ball. Where does the line get drawn on what we can do? Like, for example, Arsenal could be breaking financial rules, and it doesn't get found out for like 10 years. It's just there's no transparency about it, and it's so frustrating because the likes of Everton, Luton, and teams like that, like you're going to have no idea for 3 weeks what position you could be in. Like, obviously, you've got to focus on yourselves. Like, you've got to get your wins and everything. But Forest are going to have a big say on who goes down in this. It could be themselves for all we know. Like Burnley as well. Like they're getting a bit closer to the line now, and you think, oh, if Forest get 4 points, that cuts them adrift pretty much. And it's very frustrating, I think, overall for every team within that. Like your 6 teams that are probably looking in that battle to go down. It's just no transparency about it, and it shouldn't be that way.
I guarantee the summer market will be a lot quieter because clubs are cacking themselves with this now. It'll be quiet. It won't be billions. And again, the January window is quiet anyway historically. But I mean, even the January window, teams are worried, owners are worried. But
I think a lot of this is like provoked by the Saudi clubs more than anything. Like obviously them throwing money here, there, and everywhere, and the Saudi clubs have just bought a new market basically to the world, paying stupid money for players and then going on stupid wages, and then those players expect to come back into Europe and think, oh, I'm going to get the same money. It just doesn't happen.
I think onwards and upwards to you. We'll come off this negative topic. In actuality, I've had my fill of it. Like four months of this now, and it could have been sorted out. But that's the state of things. We can't change that. That's what's happening now. You have been here, there, and everywhere, different grounds in your time. I'm assuming you've done coursework for uni. Going to games and stuff as well. So I'm going to pop some photos up. I'll randomly pop them up. But you were in Madrid. You were at the Metropolitano with your friends there. One of the best, probably one of the best stadiums in Europe. How was it going to Atletico Madrid at the Metropolitano?
Incredible experience. One of the best stadiums in the world in world football, I believe personally. It was just incredible how big it actually was once you got there. Like you watch it on TV and you think, oh, it doesn't look that big, but my God, it is one of the most amazing stadiums I've ever been to. The crazy part was it wasn't actually in the center of Madrid. It was on the outskirts and there was nothing around it. It was just like just motorways around it. There was nothing around it. No bars, not a traditional UK, like, at Goodison, you've got your old, you've got all your takeaways and you've got all your pubs around it. There was nothing. It was astounding to me how different life is within that part of the world. I think the most amazing part about it, though, was the fact that you don't see it in the UK because you get the hooliganism as we know it as. The fact that fans of both teams were sat together. And it was crazy to me. As soon as the Atletico Bilbao fans started singing, you had someone randomly pop their head up with their scarf and start waving it in the air. And you think, oh God, is something going to happen to him? No, it was like the focus of those fans is let's focus on the team. Let's get behind the team. It's not a hooliganism culture. It doesn't seem to me within that part of the world. And it was an amazing experience, Stu. Like, honestly, it was one of the best stadiums I've ever been to. And the most astounding part was it cost me €25, and I think the Premier League really needs to start taking notice because that's an amazing price.
I'll quote Uli Hoeneß, obviously from Bayern Munich, and he was in 4-4-2, and I'm going back a number of years. They price it so much better. It's probably half the price goes to a game over there. He said, we're hitting the fans for a few million here or there. What difference does it make to us?
Yeah.
Why would we charge 50, 60, 70 euros? You are right.
It's crazy. And literally my seats that I was sat, obviously we saw in the previous photo, I was literally 10 rows from the football pitch itself. And you think to yourself, like, if you were in the Premier League, that would probably cost you, I don't know, it would cost you like £300-400 at least. it's crazy to me. But honestly, it was astounding. Like as you see, like the goal at the opposite end, that was more the ultra end, and they had all the flags and the flares, and it's amazing how different the football culture seems to be out there. Like obviously in England, they don't let you bring anything in because they think, oh, you're going to throw it on the pitch or whatever. It was amazing to see like all the fans getting up and dancing and things like that. It was an unbelievable atmosphere to be a part of. To be fair, like we literally got off the plane, went out for food, and then went straight to the ground, and it was like, wow, I'm really doing this. Like going to one of the best grounds in the world. It was an amazing place to be.
Thing is, mate, why? Once the new camp's done up and all that, the Bernabeu has had all its renovations now. Why have Spain not had a Euros or a World Cup? But now that look at that ground. Sociedad have got a really nice ground. I'm trying to think of others. I think Valencia are going to get renovated at some point. They could have a tournament. I don't understand why Spain's not had a tournament for years.
Well, you think to yourself, that ground, what was it, 3 or 4 years ago, hosted the Champions League final?
Yeah.
It's a massive ground. Like it's unbelievable. Like it's structurally and like accessibility and things like that. It's perfect. Like you got the metro links all to it and things like that. Like we came from the city centre to the metro, and it was so easy. Like you just changed at one station and you were there. It was amazing.
Just the only thing you were a bit thingy about was obviously where's all the stuff for the fans in terms of
there didn't seem to be. There was nothing really around it. It was very derelict. Is the best way I can describe it.
They're missing a trick. They've missed the trick there.
Yeah,
they've missed the trick because they could make a lot of money. But like you say, beautiful stadium. I've seen it on TV, but you go in there, it's nice to hear that. And I'm going to pump in a video that you sent me about 5 seconds long, just to add to what you're talking about the Metropolitano. Yeah, there we go.
It's crazy how big the stadium is. You don't realise how big it is until you're actually in there. But like it was unbelievable. It was a great night, and like being with your best pals at the football, it just makes it 10 times better, sort of thing. Like there's no better feeling than being with your mates and going, this is a completely new place to be. Like we're all different supporters, but we love our football, so that's what we live by.
It's good that you've done it together. It really is. It really is. No, good on you for going, and I'm sure you're going to go to more. Now I'm going to pump in a place close to my heart. There, you're in the away end there, aren't you?
Yeah, you're not going to like me here. Me and my mate went to the Luton Everton game, the one earlier on in the season when you lost 2-1, and it was a very late last minute decision, but my mate offered me a ticket, and it was 25 quid. So I thought, you know what, let's just do it and go and have a laugh. And obviously, I'm sort of got a little soft spot for Luton due to my, God bless him, my granddad passed away, but he was a massive Luton Town fan, and he lived by that badge. And it's nice to kind of, I wish he could see them in the Premier League, but I feel like I can sort of follow them for him, and it's nice. Like it was a great experience. Again, like obviously for them to get their first victory, obviously against your club, unfortunately, but it was a great day again. Like it was unbelievable how passionate they were for that first win of the season. It seems a very incredible community loved club. Like it's not designed to be in the Premier League, but it fits so well, if that makes sense.
Fantastic what they've managed to do with limited resources, and they've beaten us twice now. We've still got to go down to Kenilworth Road, and it just seems to me tactically they've had our number twice. I played to Rob Edwards and the lads there, because we were shocking. We were shocking in both games. I thought terrible, but you can't not Luton. And I'm just going to pump another photo in.
That was the Luton away game again, but that was actually for the FA Cup game. And literally, I took that photo just before Cauley Woodrow scored that last minute winner in the FA Cup, which probably wasn't. It was a tight game, to be fair. It was tighter than the Premier League game. Like I thought Luton. I actually thought overall Everton actually dominated the game. Luton were quite lucky to come away with a win in that one, but again, you've got to fight to the end, and Luton just did that. And the end, the scenes of all the fans climbing on top of each other and stuff. It was an amazing place to be.
I'm not going to miss them beams and poles and low roofs. I'm telling you now. I love
Well, yeah.
Goodison. I love Goodison to pieces. Don't get me wrong, but when we get to Bramley Moor, it's going to be amazing. And behind the goal, that 15,000 behind the goal is going to be amazing. I can't wait. I can't wait to be there. But again, if we were in the Championship, we'd still fill it. Unlike City. City, they can't fill the ground. They can't fill it.
No, they can't.
We will fill, whether we're in the Premier League or Championship, we will fill a 52,000 seater because we've still got massive support. We really have.
Empty had, as it's known as.
Yeah, sorry to my mate Dan, but he knows it's fact as well. Yeah. He knows it's fact. And here we are at Bolton. Here we go. I would obviously call it the Reebok.
Yeah. It was a very cold night that night. It was snowing. We made a last minute decision. It was an FA Cup game that came available. Again, we went up with Luton and it was a good night overall, but oh my God, it was cold. I've never been so cold in all my life. But it was a really good night, to be fair, with a couple of mates. And then obviously that set up the Everton Luton game, which then I went to 2 weeks later. But Bolton, don't get me wrong, Bolton were brilliant on the night. Like, they really caused Luton issues. Like, that is a big club to be in League One, and I hope they do get into the Championship.
They've had 5 years. They've had 5 years in League One. They are chomping at the bit to get up now. It's a long time.
Yeah,
it's crazy to think where they were in the early 2000s to where they are now.
Well, like, the infrastructure of that stadium and like where it is and everything, it's perfect. Like, Premier League ground for me, like that is a perfect ground. Like, it's got everything around it. It's got all the food, the shops and everything around it. And then obviously the stadium itself is a really nice stadium. Like, there's no visually, like, nothing in the way, like no poles, nothing. It is a really nice stadium to be. And like, travel wise, it was really easy as well. So I'm hopeful they'll get up, because that'll be a game I'd quite like to do an Arsenal away day with, because it's not far to go from where I am.
There we go. Yeah, Bolton there. And then moving on, Connor, the racecourse.
Yeah,
Wrexham. And how was it? How's it been at Wrexham? How's it been? How have you enjoyed the experience there?
I really enjoy Wrexham. It's completely different, like, avenue from where. So starting at Chester University, Wrexham is literally a 5-minute journey on the train. So just decided to go last year and went a few times. It was a really, really good experience. And like, Wrexham is a proper community club. Like, in my time in my sports journalism course, I've interviewed like club officials and things like that. And like, obviously Wayne Jones, if you've heard of him, the pub owner, he was really, really passionate and really loved like to speak on camera and stuff. He was brilliant. And like, being at Wrexham it's different. Like, to have the impact of what Rob McElhenney and Ryan Reynolds have done, it's incredible. Like, it's incredible what something so, like, it's crazy how big something can become in such a short period of time. Like, you think to yourself, an American that comes down to a game now, maybe 2-3 years ago, would go, what's Wrexham? Where is Wrexham? But now you get them coming to games, and it's an amazing sight to see. Like, globally, Wrexham being recognised as a big club, because they are a sleeping giant. Of course they are. They beat Arsenal back in the day. Well, long time before me. Like, but it's a crazy place to be. Like, it's an unbelievable atmosphere, and I can't recommend it enough, to be fair.
Well, I remember 1991, mate. All right, I remember it.
That's 10 years before me, Stu.
Mickey Thomas with one hell of a goal. So yeah, I can remember that happening. But yeah, Wrexham, unbelievable what they've managed to do. I think Phil Parkinson as manager as well. You know what I mean? He's managed clubs in the Championship, hasn't he? So he's got a lot. He's got a lot there. But yeah, I wonder. Obviously, the top three go up, don't they? And then fourth to seventh for the playoffs. So they're on course to come up automatically, aren't they?
Yeah, they've got a massive game on Friday against Mansfield, which is top against third. So if they can win that, it's like Arsenal. They're all in with a chance, and Wrexham will be aiming for that double promotion, because that's how ambitious that club has become now. And they've got the quality of team there. Your James McLean's, your Elliot Lees, your Paul Mullins. It's all there to see, but they've just got to get it right on the day. And it's a massive game on Good Friday.
The ground as well. The grounds, you know what I mean? It's got it. It's very good. They are, it could be a championship ground, couldn't it? It really could.
The problem you got now is no one can get a ticket. It sells out like instantly. Tickets are gold dust these days. Even with that new provisional stand they put in where they're waiting to build the Kop. It's so difficult to get a ticket these days. Like I've tried to get one for Good Friday and you just can't get one. It's not possible at the minute. So just got to keep trying. But I've had a lot of perspectives on that, to be fair. The locals don't necessarily agree with it because like the people that used to come during the really hard times of Wrexham can't get a ticket now. And that's tough. Like you've got to balance that. But at the same time, people want to come and watch Wrexham. They're not going to be bothered who comes and watches Wrexham. As long as they're supporting them and they're happy, they're not going to be bothered. And it's hard. That's a little bit of a hard one to balance.
It does split opinion, doesn't it? But again, it's been fantastic for the club. I know of people like who've gone for years. The majority of them are happy with it, but then there are some purists that are annoyed, I think. But I mean, what do you want? They're going to be. It's been absolutely amazing, hasn't it? Successful for him. And I think when everyone heard Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney were coming in, I think some people thought it was a bit of a joke, but far from it.
I don't think people took it seriously. They took it as a bit of a pantomime. Oh, they're coming to grab the club and then take the money out of it and then go away. But they love that. They love that club.
It's not the case, is it? Connor, what grounds would you like to go to? We're going to close out now. Obviously, I'm sure you got a list. I'm sure there's a list of places you want to go. So yeah, some grounds that you want to check off. Maybe 3. Pick 3 that you want to check off your bucket list.
I don't know whether I'd be able to get to it, but my number one for years has been the San Siro before it closes. That would be a mega one I'd love to do. Like if I ever got the chance, I'd really like to do the Bernabeu. I didn't get a chance to because they were charging €120 a ticket when I was there, and I just couldn't afford to do it. It wasn't financially viable with everything else we were doing. And then third, I would probably say, well, Cross Singed, I'm meant to be potentially going this year. Is I want to go and do like the Atlanta Stadium. America.
I do the Mercedes Dome there, like stadium.
I'd like to go and do that this year. So
that Oculus in the roof, the way they designed that, like a camera shutter, amazing. Now, I went to the Georgia Dome in 2011. There was nothing wrong with that stadium. You wouldn't believe it. But they knock him down and they start again, don't they? Over there. The Georgia Dome was fantastic, but that new one is something else.
It's going to be incredible, but definitely got Everton's new ground on the list when that eventually opens. I'd love to go and see what it's all about on Bramley Dock. But yeah, there's lots of stadiums I'd love to tick off. But yeah, there's lots of places I'd love to go. But I've got one. I'm in the ballot for the Arsenal Bayern game. So cross-fingered, we get that, and hopefully get to go back down to the Emirates.
That's going to be a hell of a two-legged affair that is with them, because with them being so far off the pace of Leverkusen at the moment, they're going to be going full tilt for that, aren't they, against you guys? But I think you've got enough. I think you've got enough over 2 legs. I think personally, I think you'll be all right. But I think they're going to be going hammer and tongs at you, aren't they, Bayern? Just with how the domestic form hasn't been there at their level.
I think the biggest thing for us is you can't look at the past. If we start looking at the past, then you start getting a bit worried. Obviously, the 7-2s, the 8-2s. I think Arsenal got a fresh mindset, and I think over 2 legs, I think we can beat them. But then you hit the rocky patch of Real Madrid or Manchester City, and that's when it gets really tough.
Absolutely. Connor, where can we find you in terms of social media for the listeners? I'm obviously not the viewers now because we're live. Yeah, just where they can find you across the socials.
So you can find me on Instagram at my full name, Connor Franklin, and then 2001. I do post on there my stadium pictures and things like that. I'm also on Twitter, which I do post, which my page is called The Football Review. So I do post my opinions on there, but obviously being at university, sometimes it's tough to keep up on that, but I'll try my best to keep in value with that. But yeah, they're my 2 pages you best to follow.
Man. Thank you very, very much. Connor is also in his 2nd year of his sports journalism degree as well. So yeah, You're going to be in amongst it. Great having you on.
Brilliant. Thank you so much.
All the best to Arsenal leading into this. This is going to be this last 10, as we said earlier, 10 games for the 3 clubs are going to be. It's going to be frantic. It's going to be something, I think, going to be very exciting. But hopefully you get over the line. Hopefully you get over the line and you can get a title.
I hope so, Stu. I hope so. And then I'll see you in the Premier League next season.
Fingers, yes. All being well and we don't get hit with another charge, we should be okay. But my guest today, we're in double figures now on Football Then and Now for episode number 10 is Arsenal fan Connor Franklin. Thank you so much for coming on Football
Thank you.
Then and Now. And we will see you very soon. And we will have you back on at a later date, I'm sure.
100%. I really appreciate your time, Stu.
Take care, mate. All the
best.
Take care. All the best.
Take care. Bye.
Football Then and Now, a fun look at football nostalgia and the modern game intertwined. Join us.